All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making a plays. Talking the game, get you through the day. You're high in the court, down in the lane. Variety, topics never the same. All presentation, sports information. Hitting the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays. Like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays.
All right, man, whenever you're ready.
All right, we're on. Okay, what's up, everyone? How's everyone doing? This is Judge Mathis. Welcome to another episode of Speaking with Judgement, hosted by me. Tonight, I'm joined with, right now, Tony's on with me because Tony is a big football fan, and we have some crazy news today in the college football world, and it involves Nick Saban, of all people. And, you know, when I heard the rant, I was pissed off to hear the comments that was made in the rant. You know, and Nick Saban to me is a better person than this. He's above that, you know. So we're going to talk about that first. We're going to get into that. Then we're going to get into the NBA Western Conference Finals, the Eastern Conference Finals. We're going to break that stuff down later as well. And then we're going to talk a little NHL. I got a little hockey for you guys as well. But first, I got to get started with the big news today. I got it, Tony. I got to talk about Nick Saban because like I just said moments ago, that rant really pissed me off. I mean, that was unnecessary. To attack Jimbo Fisher and to attack other schools was unwarranted. You know, it was okay when your team had the top recruiting class. And now that your team doesn't have the top recruiting class, and now that your team is suddenly not been the most popular program, it seems, in the SEC, you want to take shots at other schools. You want to call out coaches. You had the audacity to even go after Deion Sanders. I mean, Nick Saban, who the hell are you to go after these people? I have the utmost respect for Deion Sanders, and I'm waiting to hear from him to say something because I know he's going to have a response to this. But I have the utmost respect for him because he is doing everything he can do at a HBU. He's doing everything he can. He's giving back to the community. He's helped some of these young players who were unknown create a brand for them. A brand for themselves, and then Nick Saban is gonna sit. How dare you sit on stage with your legs crossed, and you have the damn nerve to call out Jimbo Fisher as if you're doing everything the right way. Okay, that's rule number one right there. You're not doing everything the right way either. So don't sit here and sound like you're this innocent person who's never done anything wrong. Nick Saban, you know damn right that you've done some things too, that you tried to manipulate the system, that you tried your hardest to beat the system. He's done some stuff. And Jimbo Fisher even pointed it out in the press conference. You know, hey, what's up? What's up? Lennon is here now. He's joined us. Lennon, we got a lot to talk about because me and Tony are here talking about this Nick Saban mess that happened. And you know what, man? I'm angry. I'm angry because of the word that was used, bought. How dare you even say players were bought? It makes you sound like it makes it sound like these players are property. They're not property. They're players. And you're a coach that's making what, about $10 million a year? Those players are putting money in your pocket, and you're talking like that. It's complete nonsense. You know, Jimbo Fisher had every right to defend his players. I'm glad he did. Defend his 17-year-old, 19-year-old, 20-year-old kids. These are kids that you're talking about. You're attacking these people. It was demeaning. It was tasteless. It was uncalled for. You know, and I think it's petty, to say the least. I really do. I think it's petty. I think that Nick Saban is better than this. He should be above this. And this is the last thing I would have thought would have come out of the man's mouth. You know, he sounds like a narcissist. You know, Jimbo Fisher pointed that out as well. What are your thoughts on this? I'm gonna go with Tony first, man, because Tony's been here and I want to hear from him. He's the football expert. He knows more than me when it comes to football. And then after that, we'll go to Lennon.
Yeah, I will say this kind of shocked me from Nick Saban, because if you look at it from purely from a people aspect, Nick Saban is in charge of the University of Alabama in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. What is in Alabama other than the University of Alabama and Auburn University? Other than a couple military bases, nothing. Nothing of any type of significance. So, Nick, how are you getting these kids from California? How are you getting these kids from LA that would potentially go to USC, from UCLA? How are you getting these kids from Texas when you have like 6 major Texas schools just in that state? How are you getting these kids from Florida, from Georgia? How are you pulling these kids in? You have to have some type of monetary incentive to get them to want to come to Alabama. They're not just coming there, and they're not coming to the countryside like, man, I love cornfields and just soybeans everywhere. Like, no, Nick, you've been doing this for years. You're just and this is what I also don't understand with Nick. You're the number 2 recruiting class. You're behind Texas. If you were like number 15, okay, now you can be a little bit salty. You're number 2. You're still the top school. I think Nick is mad because now it makes his job more difficult, because now these schools can get into bidding wars. You're not just going to purely have these, Alabama completely dominant. Like, well, if you want to win a championship, you're going to the University of Alabama, and that's it. Now it's like, okay, well, maybe I don't want to win a championship. This is something that's temporary. We've seen kids all the time. These scholarships are a year-by-year thing, and schools can decide whether or not they want to continue to renew your scholarship. Maybe one year you're the guy, they pay for it. Your sophomore year, you have a career-ending injury. You're like, well, sorry, man. We pay you to come play football, and you can't play football anymore. Your scholarship's gone. Go somewhere else. And the fact that he took shots at Deion Sanders is probably what's the most interesting, because he and Deion seem to be on the same page of a lot of things. They were good friends. They did an Affleck commercial together. I'm not saying they're bros. I'm not saying they don't have any differences, but how are you going to attack a guy that established himself as a perennial football player, as a quarterback, the speed, the ability to catch the ball, the ability that he could run backwards faster than most people can run forwards. And he's doing that with no issue. And he became a professional baseball player at the highest level on top of that. And I don't know if either of you gentlemen ever played baseball. I never did, because it's hard as hell to hit that little tiny ball with a wooden bat. And Deion Sanders was able to do it at a professional level on top of having played football with it. So the fact that you're going after him when Deion Sanders is just doing what he felt is best. He wanted to bring back, prestige, and wanted to bring awareness back to historic HBCUs. Because think about it, before the Alabamas, before the Ohio States, how many young African-American students ever got scholarships to go to some of those schools? Like, hey, you can come to the University of Alabama, but you're going to have to pay full tuition when you come here. I don't have money to go to the University of Alabama. I'll go to a Bowling Green. I'll go to the Jackson State University. I'll go to these different colleges, and that's how you get the Jerry Rices. That's how you got the Walter Paytons. That's how you got all of these people that came into the NFL and ended up becoming NFL greats, is because that's where they started. To me, I think Nick is going to start getting unsettled and uneasy, because we've seen it for the last couple of years. Alabama talent has started to go down. Not saying they're not still the top college program. They're still the guys to beat. But think about it. They went from their 1st through 4th wide receiver, their 4th string guy, all first-round wide receivers in the NFL draft. Quarterback, churning out first-round quarterbacks. They didn't last very long, but they churn out first-round quarterbacks like nobody's business. And first-round talent everywhere else. You're not starting to see that dominant Alabama defense anymore. We're not starting to see these wide receivers that make these, crazy, ridiculous names as they're going in. They had one wide receiver go in the first round this year.
Yeah.
Williamson.
Yeah.
So to me, I think Nick is starting to get worried, because now there's cracks in his college empire foundation that he built, and his stranglehold on the college football world. And now you can have schools like Texas A&M start to compete. Now you can have other schools, start to give Alabama the headache that they don't want to deal with. So for me, I think it's uncalled for by Nick Saban. Again, it's ironic too that he calls out the guy that was his assistant.
Yeah,
and has had the most success, well, some of the most success out of leaving Nick Saban, other than Kirby Smart out of Georgia, who was also a Nick Saban disciple. Jimbo Fisher went and won a national championship with Florida State.
Right.
And now he's going to call him out at Texas A&M. So to me, it's childish. I think Nick he's getting to that point now. He's in his 70s. He's 71.
He's too old, too damn old to be.
He's getting.
Starting some drama.
I think he's starting to realize you've only got a few more years of coaching left, Nick. Not saying that you're going to go out on a bad streak, but age is going to start becoming a factor. Your health is going to start coming into it because coaching's hard. It takes a lot out of you. Can you keep doing this for that long, and can you continue to churn out the same people that you can? Because now you have name, image, and likeness. I don't need to go to Alabama to get endorsements. I don't need to go there. I can go to any school now and get paid and get money for it. I don't have to go to you. So to me, I think it's just Nick is scrambling and reaching, and he's doing whatever he can.
Yeah, and before I turn it over to Lennon, I just want to say that he sounds like a hypocrite. Because, look, I'm not here to accuse the man and say that he's doing some sneaky stuff behind the scenes, because we don't know. We really don't know. But I wouldn't be surprised. Nothing surprises me if there is something going on within the university, because, of course, some players might be getting paid. They might be getting money under the table. I wouldn't deny it at all. I would, if a story broke today or tomorrow, I wouldn't be surprised.
Well, look at Bryce Young. Bryce Young earned over $1 million, right, and then he got a Heisman Trophy.
Exactly. So Nick Saban is going to call somebody else out, call out other schools. But, if you get caught doing it, okay, well, it's a misinterpretation. I didn't know. I didn't have any knowledge about it. I didn't have any type of awareness that this was going on within the university. Dude, get out of here. You sound like a hypocrite. That's all you are. This doesn't look good for you or the University of Alabama. And you still got a chance to win, yet you have a sour taste in your mouth. It's sour grapes. Get over yourself. Be a man about it. Handle it with dignity and pride. And that's something that he didn't do. And Jimbo Fisher, I applaud him for striking back and speaking up and defending his players and the University of Texas A&M. What's up, Lennon? What are your thoughts on this, man?
Honestly, I think it is childish because I feel like we hold Saban to the same standard that we would hold Bill Belichick, because they're two of the greatest coaches of our time. And just to have him, I feel like I kind of agree with Tony. I feel like Saban's getting worried because he's seeing schools like Florida, he's seeing schools like Ohio State, like Texas A&M. All of them are getting those 5-star recruits, while slowly but surely Alabama's value has been going down. And I feel like it kind of reached its peak around the time that Derrick Henry and Mac Jones and Tua, all of them were there, because then all the other 5-star recruits are looking at Alabama and thinking, well, maybe I might have a spot on their starting roster, maybe I might not. So maybe I should look at LSU, or maybe I should look at Clemson. But yeah, and just to attack Deion Sanders like that, when I'm not entirely fully aware of the situation, but I know a little bit, it's more of, you just got to act better than that, man. You're one of the greatest coaches in college football history. And to be acting like this it's just unacceptable.
Yeah, you're the GOAT. You're supposed to set example for your student athletes, not, out of nowhere attack, two prominent coaches. I call them prominent coaches because they've done a tremendous job at their programs. And, now it makes me believe that there's some type of beef between Jimbo Fisher and Nick Saban for him to, attack him the way he did. Just uncalled for, unnecessary. There was no reason to do that at all. But we'll move on because obviously Nick Saban likes the attention bent on himself. So now we'll move on to bigger and better things, and that's the NBA. We are finally in the Western Conference Finals. We have the Eastern Conference Finals. Last night, it didn't look too good for Dallas, the same team that upset the Phoenix Suns in Game 7. Phoenix Suns disappeared. They didn't show up. We all know how bad that was. The Dallas Mavericks last night, they didn't show up against a very good Golden State Warriors team. I'm not really surprised, but I am surprised that they got blown out, that it wasn't really a close finish for the Dallas Mavericks. I thought that Dallas would have come out harder. But you know what? That's kind of normal, I'm guessing, in a game one. Dallas is trying to fill this team out. They're trying to get a grip of themselves, and now they can make those adjustments going into game two. Maybe they'll play much better. They're going to have to adjust. And one way to adjust is I think Luka's going to have to be able to read the defenses, get his teammates more involved, and they're going to have to knock down their open shots because we saw yesterday the big problem was the fact that he was being double teamed. He was being smothered. I think he was double teamed 7 times in the game, or it might have been more than 7 times. I know he was double teamed quite a few times, and the Golden State Warriors defended him so well, they made life very difficult for him. I think that he will adjust in the upcoming game, in game 2. I think they will look at film. They'll see what they can do better. I know Jason Kidd has illustrated the ability to make adjustments needed in games, and that's how Dallas has been able to respond back every time. So I do think Dallas will tie this series. I do think this series has the chance of going 7 games. I don't know how you guys both feel about that. But Lennon, I'll let you have the floor first. Who wins game 2 and who wins this series?
I'm going to say I don't think – I'm kind of biased because I'm a Dallas fan. But I don't think that Dallas can win game 2 just because – I know Luka will adjust, but it's just more who they trust to guard someone like Klay Thompson or Jordan Poole when you have Luka guarding Steph. I mean, because at a drop of the dime, Jordan Poole can go out for 29 or Klay Thompson can go out for 35 when Steph's being shut down, So I feel like ultimately it's going to go to 7 games, and I feel like Luka will find the answers kind of like he did with Phoenix last series. I feel like he'll find answers that he needs, and I feel like they could get the win in Game 7 to move on to the finals. But if we're just looking at Game 2, I feel like the Warriors are going to take this one just to take a 2-0 series lead.
Thanks for joining us, Victor, tonight. Thanks for hanging out with us. Victor says that this series is done in 5. I will say this. If the Mavericks play like they played last night, this series is done rather quickly. This series could possibly end in 5. Golden State has a lot of offensive firepower. They have elite weapons on the floor. Jordan Poole has emerged into a third option. You still have Draymond Green anchoring the defense. We all know how he can get inside your head as well. He's one of those psychological type players. And then Steph Curry is going to be Steph Curry. Steph Curry is going to light it up, And that's another thing. Golden State has a few players who can get hot at any time. And they have players who can score on different nights. So, that's just how deep they are. That's how talented they are. That's how loaded they are. They're stacked. They have all this star power in the world. And they look like the easy favorites right now, the betting favorites to win it all. So it wouldn't surprise me if this series ends early, if Dallas comes out playing stale, if they look flat like they did. Golden State is just overall on paper, to me, the better team. Tony, what are your thoughts on this?
Oh no, I agree, and I look at it from the standpoint of, you've got Curry, you've got Green, and you've got Thompson. All three have been in Golden State. They won a championship together before they got KD. They won 2 more when KD were there. And then they unfortunately just got injuries and were basically irrelevant the last couple of years. But if you look at every time they get into the playoffs, they always go into the finals, and they either win or they lose, and they'll either go to the championship or they won't. And I think a lot of it comes down to the big thing is experience. They've got the experience, they've got the chemistry as well to go with it. Not saying the Mavericks don't, but you've got your 3 core players, like you said, Jonathan, that can light it up at any time. All they got to do is just decide, hey, this is what we're going to do. Obviously, Curry can shoot from the outside like nobody's business, probably one of the best shooters we can. Draymond mentally is just going to get in their head. And then, of course, you have the other half of the Splash Brothers and Klay Thompson.
Mm-hmm.
And you have, Wiggins coming up, and he's young and up and coming, and he's great. So I kind of agree with Coach. I think it's done in 5. Not that I wouldn't like to see the Mavericks do it. I just think with the chemistry that Golden State has from all of its core players still together after all these years, they have the experience. They've been in this situation before. And really all they have to do is they just have to outplay Luka. And when it's basically 3 against 1, that's not hard to do. They look at kind of what they did to the Rockets when it was just James Harden. You stop him, and you're good to continue on in the series. So honestly, to me, I feel like the Warriors are the favorite to win the whole entire thing at this point now that the Suns are gone. And I definitely have the Warriors win the series. I think they won it in 5.
The Mavericks, man, the Mavericks supporting cast is going to have to step up. They're going to have to be big. Dallas wasn't able to get any shots to fall, and that allowed Golden State to come off their defender because the ball was not moving and nobody was making their shots. So that allowed them to double team Luka more. But I think Luka will make the adjustments. I don't think they're going to go down that easy. I think Luka, because Luka could score too. He has put up some video game stats. He has been, if you look at his track record, he has been historically good, particularly in the playoffs. So I expect him to come back with a vengeance in game 2. I think he'll, put on a show in Golden State, and they know how important it is to steal a game, at least one game in Golden State before they go back to Dallas, and then hopefully momentum could shift in their favor. But we'll see how that goes. As far as the Eastern Conference Finals, man, the Miami Heat, to me, guys, are the more complete team. I don't know. You could say that about Boston, too. Boston has a pretty good squad too, which is why I think this series is going to go 7 games because these teams match up really well. Jimmy Butler is, scoring points. He is putting the ball in the basket. He is shooting the ball efficiently. You can make the argument that he's the best player in these playoffs right now. And then Jason Tatum is doing his thing for Boston. He looks a little tired though, but Marcus Smart, I think, returned to the lineup tonight. So, that takes some of the pressure off of him. He doesn't have to pull as much weight. But here's the thing with Marcus Smart though. Marcus Smart was able to shoot around this morning. He worked out, but he was moving gingerly. He's still not 100%. So that's a bit concerning for the Boston Celtics because I feel like when Marcus Smart is on the floor, that allows Boston to set the tone. He sets the tone for Boston. Marcus Smart is a vital piece to their success. And without him on the floor, I don't feel like Boston can go very far. They need their guard in the backcourt. Marcus Smart, he controls everything as their guard. And, I think they feed off of his energy and his intensity in the backcourt. And then Al Horford, I believe he made his return tonight as well. We all know that he has rediscovered himself. He looks like the old Al Horford. He's having a resurgent year. So he's been amazing for Boston. But the Miami Heat too are very loaded. They have a lot of players that can score. They have 2 undrafted players that has made a major impact on their team. And that has even kept Duncan Robinson on the bench, amazingly, believe it or not. Eric Spoelstra knows how to prepare his team for big games. So the Miami Heat, I think, are favored by many to win the series, and it wouldn't surprise me if they did. But I do think this goes to 7 games. What is your take on this, Tony?
Oh yeah, I agree. And to me, honestly, I think Miami wins it, but I think Boston has to play hard. And I say that because this is really going to be the year that Boston has to prove whether or not they can actually go toe to toe with the big dogs, and they can prove it. You know, you look at the Jason Tatum and Marcus Smart combo. We've looked at that for years, and what's happened? Boston has come up short every single year for about the last 5 years. They've won a lot of games, not saying they're not good, but they've come up short. And it's one of those, if they don't do it this year, then where does Boston go from here? Because they're not, if they don't win, they haven't solidified themselves as the team in the East now. Like, they were able to sweep the Nets, which luckily the Nets are a dumpster fire, so they didn't really get a true challenge out of that. Then they turn around, they have to face the Milwaukee Bucks, which they were so up and down with. They were able to finally close out the series, thankfully. But against the Miami Heat, I think with what the Celtics are going to struggle with is, you know, and we've talked about this, is that the Heat doesn't have a true number one. Like, we've seen Jimmy Butler have these moments where he can be the number one star, like where he just lights it up, he kills it on the scoreboard all the time. But he doesn't always do that consecutively. Like, he'll have a really good game, then he has a really bad game. He'll have a really good game, then he has a really bad game. And you got to be careful with that in these series, because again, that can be the difference on whether or not you make it. At least with Miami, because you have a good supporting cast, as well as a team that can go from attacking you offensively to being extremely good defensively, it's going to be hard to lock Boston up with this. And I do agree. I think this could easily go into a 7-game series, because I think Boston is good about doing adjustments. And if you look at it right now, currently, it's probably changed. It's 31-47 right now, with the Celtics leading with 7 minutes left in the second quarter. So again, if the Celtics can keep this up, they'll at least keep the series interesting. But I do agree. I think it's going to be Warriors and Heat in the championship game. And I think as much as I would kind of like to see Boston kind of, you know, potentially pull it out there, but even then, if I'm Boston, I don't want to go up against Golden State in the finals personally. Like, if I think Miami would be more interesting, because it's going to be defense versus offense, and who's gonna get the edge in that at the end of the day.
Both of these games, believe it or not, game 1 was a lopsided victory for the Miami Heat, and now it's looking like that's going to be the way it ends for the Celtics tonight as well. It looks like the Celtics are going to be victorious in a lopsided defeat tonight, if assuming this score holds. Jimmy Butler only has 9 points. PJ Tucker has 5. Bam Adebayo has 0. The young kid Max has 6, and Vincent has 3. Tyler Hero has 7. So of course Jimmy Butler is the guy with the most points for the Miami Heat. But, you know, this all can change in the second half. It's still plenty of game left. And, you know, the Celtics, they blew a lead against Milwaukee in the last series. So, I mean, you never know. Not saying that's going to be the case tonight, but we saw Boston squander a big lead. Hopefully they hold on, because they need this win going back to Boston. I think that would be great for them to, you know, go back to Boston tied. They play really well in front of their home crowd. They've shown us that throughout this postseason. I like Boston's chances. So do I like Miami's chances. I think both of these teams are equally matched. I think both of these teams have guys that can score. Both of these teams, you know, can get hot at any time. And both of these teams have had coaches that put their teams in the best position to make a strong run. And you're looking at what could potentially be one of the greatest Eastern Conference finals of all time. Lennon, I go back to you. Who do you think wins this series and how many games?
I think it'll be a tough series for both teams, but I honestly agree with Tony and you guys. Like, I feel like Miami is going to pull it out, but I'm thinking it's going to be a rematch of the 2011 NBA Finals with the Dallas Mavericks versus the Miami Heat. Because, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, there's no disrespect to the Boston Celtics. They have one of the best teams in the East. And I feel like, kind of like what you mentioned, like the last 5 years or so, they've kind of fell short. But I feel like that's also because they've also had to deal with LeBron in the East. And now with him, on the Lakers and the East more, how to say it, the East more spread out. I feel like pretty much anyone's game now. So if Boston can pull this out, they could. But honestly, I think Jimmy Butler is going to be more locked in, looking towards that finals appearance. And I feel like they could. I feel like it'll be Miami in 6.
Yeah, it could come down to 6 or I think it's gonna go 7 games. This series is gonna be a fun series. I just hope that we see more competitive games and not all blowouts. Because, like I said, the first 2 games have been not as interesting as I thought they would, not as close as I thought they would. But now we're gonna move on. We're gonna move on to an interesting topic because this is like a TMZ type topic. And I wanted to talk about this. This was last minute, and we're staying in the NBA because this is an NBA related topic. It has to do with LeBron James' son. I don't know if you guys heard, but Bronny James is in the news because he took a white girl to the prom. Everyone is blowing up about it. Everyone's making a big deal about it because Bronny decided that his date would be a white girl. And now people are, criticizing him for it. He's receiving backlash for it. I think it's utterly ridiculous. I think it's ignorant. I think these people need to get a life and stop passing judgment on people and let people be happy and live the life that they want to live. This is nobody's business. Bronny can date whoever he wants to date. It's his choice. People need to mind their own business. If they don't have nothing nice to say, don't say it at all. I don't even know why this is news. It shouldn't be news. Again, people want to be in everybody's business, but in the age of social media, everything is out there. Everyone has camera phones. We can see what's going on in a lot of people's lives, their personal lives. And this is why I think most people are talking about it because they have nothing else to talk about. Well, if you want to talk about something, talk about what we just talked about, the NBA playoffs. That's what you talk about. Stay out of these people's personal lives. I feel like everything regarding LeBron always has to come up in a topic of discussion. It shouldn't be that way, but it is that way. And sadly, that's the day and age we live in. But who cares? I mean, I don't really care who Bronny dates. That's not my business. As long as he's happy and the girl is treating him right, I'm okay with that. I love, like I always say, love has no color. If you're happy with a person, date them. And we live in a more acceptable time when interracial couples don't matter as much anymore. I mean, I'm with a Hispanic woman. I'm with a Latina. That's my fiance. My daughter is half Latina and half Black. And that's more common today. It's more acceptable. I don't have a problem with it. It shouldn't be a problem with that. It's a different time. We live in 2020 now, 2022. And so, I mean, I don't even know why this is a story, but Tony, go ahead and tell us how you feel about this.
Oh yeah, I agree. It's one of those, like, as long as he's happy, as long as the girl's happy, as long as they're treating each other okay, like who really cares? I don't. I've never really understood why people bring race into something that it shouldn't even be brought into. Like like if she's over here calling him some type of derogatory name, that's not okay. But okay, he likes a girl. He's a boy and he likes a girl and she likes him. So what really doesn't matter? It's one of those, and I'm going to sound kind of crazy and a little bit like conspiracy theorists. I feel like people, like, I'm not a big fan of this whole like woke culture thing. I think they take stuff too extreme. I do think some things need to change and maybe be a little bit more, looked at and realized and understood. But there comes a point where it's too much. Like you guys are trying to be so woke and so like, we need to be so aware, we need to be so apparent that you're becoming what you hate. You're doing the reverse and you're being more racist by doing this. Like kind of the same thing when they took like Aunt Jemima and everything like that off of some of the stuff. It's like, okay, now you got rid of all the posters for African American mascots. All those are gone. Now the only ones that are left are white ones. I'm like, you did the exact opposite of what you wanted to do. You did reverse racism and made everything more racist. Like, and that, and like you said, Jonathan, love doesn't have a color. If you love someone, it doesn't matter what they look like, doesn't matter who they are, doesn't matter gender, sex, ethnicity, religion, whatever they are. If you love them, you love them. And it's sad that, like you said, that people are so bored and they need to just be so involved in people's stuff that they're like, oh, we need to make a comment. This is just crazy. And I could go a lot deeper, but it's one of those, it's not, for me, I don't want to do that because it's not that deep for me, but it is sad that he's a kid, he's a young man, he's got a bright future, and that people are worried about something as small as this is basically asinine, in my opinion.
Yeah, they're more concerned about who he's dating and not his scouting report.
Mm-hmm.
They want to see the pictures of him and his date and not pictures and YouTube videos of his game. Mm-hmm. And that's not what it's about. I want to see what Bronny can do on a basketball court. Mm-hmm. To hell with what's going on off the court. Okay. Mm-hmm. I could care less about that. I think reality TV's to blame for this too, because people want to see shows on how people are living, what they're eating, what time they go to bathroom, when are they going to dinner, where they're going to dinner, who they're meeting up with next week. I don't care. I want to see the basketball game. That's what I want to see. Lennon, how do you feel about this, man? Because I'm annoyed. I'm exhausted with all these damn gossip stories. What is your feeling about all this?
Honestly, I think it's pretty ridiculous that they, kind of like you guys have said, they're so poor. They had to find the littlest of things in order to report on just to try to start stuff. Like, and I feel like it goes double for people in LeBron's family, because you know how the media is with LeBron anyways, and now they're realizing, well, he's not going to be in the league that much longer, but his son will be. They're going to get an early head start on 24/7 coverage of Bronny. And I feel like I agree with you guys. It doesn't matter who it is. As long as you love them and you guys are treating each other right, who cares what anyone thinks? I honestly feel like more like you said, they need to focus more on the basketball things than who Bronny dates or who Bronny got with or whatever,
I agree. I really agree with that. Now we're gonna move on to the last topic. I think we'll run out of time with all that needs to be discussed. I'm an NHL fan, yes. I'm a hockey fan. Tony, are you into hockey?
I'm not. I wasn't able to get into hockey this year like I was hoping to. So I'm probably gonna have to dip back and just do production on this one because hockey, I'll be limping through this like Amber Heard in her defense trial. It's like it's not going to be pretty if I try to talk any type of.
I completely understand. We're gonna talk a little hockey here because, man, I've been so intrigued. I've been so tuned in to these hockey games. Lennon, I don't know about you, man, but to me, hockey heats up when playoff time comes. I mean, these games have been exciting. You saw in the last round how many game sevens there were. And I mean, it's still exciting. You don't even have two of the biggest names in the sport. You don't have Alexander Ovechkin and you don't have Sidney Crosby. But you know who you do have? You have the emergence of Connor McDavid. You have other guys who have emerged and are, showing the world who they are. And it's just fun to watch, man. It's been so exciting. And I know hockey doesn't get, fair treatment in this country. A lot of people don't talk about hockey like they should. Hockey does not garner that much attention in the U.S., very much like basketball, baseball, or football, the main big three. I want to hear from you about these NHL playoffs because last night I watched that Calgary game and Edmonton game, and man, I was, just my butt was glued to the seat. I couldn't move. I couldn't even go to the refrigerator to grab a beer. The game was so good. The third period was wild. About 88 seconds out of the third period, intermission, Edmonton, if I remember correctly, Edmonton scored. Then Calgary responded. And then next thing you know, Calgary had an 8. I believe it was 8-6. It was just a wild game. You can also say that there was a lack of protection in front of the goal, that the goaltenders could have been better. They were, not saving enough pucks, giving up too many shots. But hey, that's what we like in today's that's what fans like in today's sports world, right? They like to see, they love to see offense, and that's what the NHL playoffs, particularly this game last night, provided to us. What do you think about hockey, and do you think it's an unappreciated sport, and do you think fans here in the country will tune in more to hockey games?
Honestly, I gotta agree. I feel like, speaking at least for myself, I know lately, the last couple of years, I've been trying to get myself more involved in hockey, just so I can have at least a little bit more area expertise to talk about. But honestly, I feel like people don't talk about it as much. I do agree, because usually we'll have NBA from October to February, and we'll have the NFL from pretty much around the same time. So we're always having at least a different sport. Then once we're waiting on baseball, we're waiting on basketball to come back, we're waiting on football to come back, there's still hockey. And I feel like the game keeps changing over the last couple years. I watched a little bit of the highlights from that game last night. But I'll be honest, it's really starting to intrigue me more and more to where I feel like I want to go in depth on just watch some game film, watch some highlights, just try to learn as much as I can so that there can be more people talking about it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, hockey should have a higher prominence in professional sports. I mean, it could be on the rise with all these stars, because you got stars just like you have stars in Major League Baseball now, the NBA. You have rising stars in hockey as well. Cal McCarr being one of them, of the Colorado Avalanche. This guy, man, he is a treat to watch. the things he does with the puck is simply amazing. And he's one of the reasons why he's the primary reason as to why the Avalanche are arguably the best team in the West. This team, doesn't lose many games. This team has played some of the best hockey. And it's just mesmerizing to see how Makar scores, how he gets his points. And, it's utterly ridiculous to watch this guy, the numbers that he's putting up as a defenseman. It's just, as a defenseman, it's just amazing. This guy comes with the whole package, and he's such a dominant player in every situation. I mean, he can, control the ice. He skates really well. He has a tremendous skill set. He has the ability to move the puck and defend really well without it. So, I mean, the Avalanche are really a team that looks unstoppable. They looked unstoppable last year with equally dominant players leading the way, and now you're seeing it again this year with Makar, and he looks like a player that will his team to victory. He's just a special player to watch. But to me, and a lot of people may think I sound crazy, a lot of people may not think I know what I'm talking about, but you know what, Lennon? I think I know what I'm talking about when I say that Connor McDavid has emerged as the next face of hockey. I think it's clear
definitely.
as day that he is the next face of hockey. I mean, there's no denying that. I mean, you can't dispute the fact that he is the best thing going in hockey right now. That he is the best player in the game today. Might even be the best player in the world. I mean, and if that sounds hyperbole, then I'm sorry, but I mean, I think those are the facts, and we're looking at what this man is doing in every game. It's elite. He's an elite player. Edmonton is, in the second round because of him. This guy has, carried his team just about single-handedly. He's been a highlight reel each night. He has stepped up in the moment. He is now in the spotlight, and I just like what I'm seeing from Connor McDavid. I can't give the man enough praise. His skating ability, the breakaway speed, and the stick handling. And here's the other thing that I like about him. The puck does not slow him down. He can still have the puck in his possession, and it seems like he's skating faster with the puck than he is without. So, I mean, it's just amazing to see what he's doing. Do you think Connor McDavid, and this is no disrespect to Sidney Crosby, because Sidney Crosby has not slowed down at all. He has shown signs of not slowing down at all. But do you think he is the face of hockey, Connor McDavid?
Honestly, I do believe Connor is, because I was actually thinking about it, and because you said, even with the puck, without the puck, he's still that elusive, And it kind of reminds me of Steph Curry, because Steph Curry with the ball, he's still just as quick. He still has moves, but off the ball, he's even quicker. I would say as quick, but if not quicker. I feel like, Connor, he's what, only 23? I want to say something like that. And to be producing at this sort of level in hockey, I feel like he'll be the face of the league. But I also feel like at the end of his career, we'll be talking about possibly him being up there with the names of Wayne Gretzky and all the greats, as possibly one of the greatest hockey players of all time. And I truly believe that.
Yeah, I mean, this is a guy who's ahead of his time. he has, burst onto the scene rather quickly. And I mean, he has just put on a show on ice. What an incredible display from a man who can only get better and who will continue to mesmerize us with his ability to skate, score, and make his team a lot better. Now, Edmonton and Calgary are two teams in Canada located in the west on the west coast of Canada, so they don't get the same glamour that teams like the Toronto Maple Leafs would, or like the Pittsburgh Penguins here in the United States, or the New York Rangers, teams with more prestige, teams that's wrapped around mystique. You know, they don't get that same, treatment, or people are not talking about them as much as they do the other teams. But to me, it seems like Edmonton has the best player in the world. And, even though Edmonton doesn't get that same love because of where it's located in Canada, um, you know, this guy, Conor McGregor, can put them on the map. He could make a name for that team, Edmonton. And I know that's a place where Wayne Gretzky played back in the day. So there is some there. I mean, it is a legendary franchise. Don't get me wrong, but I think you get what I'm saying. Because of the location, being on the west coast of Canada, you hear more people talk about teams like the Tampa Bay Lightning, teams like the Toronto Maple Leafs, and even though this is a team that rarely gets out of the first round, teams of that nature, the Colorado Avalanche gets more hype than what Edmonton gets. But I think with Conor McGregor around, you'll be hearing about the Oilers for a very, very long time.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I feel like also kind of like going off the way you said, like you were saying how like teams like the Pittsburgh Penguins and all of them, the Toronto Maple Leafs. I feel like also that the having those NBA teams or those NFL teams, I feel like that is also what's helping them because then they're already focused on that, and then they notice, oh well, say like let's go like Boston, like oh I just got through checking out the Pats, but there's the Bruins right there. I could just check up on them, just see what's going on. I feel like Edmonton, like you said, Edmonton has a chance to be put on the map as one of the top teams in the league right now. If not, if they already aren't. But I think only time will tell if Connor can stay. I feel like he can stay consistent, but to defend him.
Yeah, I didn't catch the last part because you're kind of breaking up. You going in and out. You cutting in and out.
Oh, that's my bad. Hold on one sec. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you clearly now.
I think it may be my earbuds.
You're good, man. You're good.
But yeah, I feel like it's more. I feel like it's more them building around to defend Connor coming up in the next couple years. I think that's what will be probably the best to look out for.
Yeah, and hey, you said it best right there. Lennon, man, we running out of time, man. I really appreciate you for jumping on with me tonight, for hanging out with me for a little bit. I'm gonna let you have the floor for the last few minutes now. Tell people about you, who you are, what's going on in your life, and what you do and the work that you have put out there. Talk a little bit about yourself before we check out of here.
Well, I am currently the lead journalist for All Sports All Play Network, one of the best in the sports industry, along with being the lead reporter for the Jaguars for Sports and Culture Media. Honestly, I just want to make a positive impact in the sports industry, whether it's helping those in need, like fellow writers or fellow podcasters, or if it's even just sharing somebody's article, just trying to do what I can so that we all grow together. And I feel like we need to be more, how to put it? I feel like we need to be more together in this industry because usually, like, the last couple of years, it's been like cutthroat. Like, people have been like, "Oh, I'm not going to help you just because you're going to try to get better than me." I'm going to try to flip that narrative. I want to have it to where, like, if, like, let's say, like, someone's like, "Oh, I need help with this article," I can be like, "Oh, well, just send it to me. I can just look over it and just maybe give my thoughts, and then you can go off of that." But I will say this. I am looking forward. I'm definitely looking forward to having you on my show on June 23rd because I know it will definitely be a good time. And I feel like I want to be. I'm not gonna say I want to be one of the greatest, but I at least want. If someone brings up writing and articles and stuff, I feel like I would like to be in the conversation for one of them. You know what I'm saying?
And you will if you continue grinding, and that's what I like about ASAP, man. This is a family atmosphere over here. Everyone has nothing but love for each other. Everyone pushes each other to work tremendously hard, and we have seen results, and we have continued to grow as a team. And it's amazing to be a part of this collective group of podcasters who are looking to go the same place as a lot of other podcasters out there. So I mean, it's been a lot of fun, man. I'm glad that you were able to come on board tonight and jump on with me. I want to thank you for being my guest tonight, as well as Tony. Tony is running production behind the scenes, but he was on moments ago. He jumped off the hockey segment. I understand because, hey, there's sometimes that I get nervous talking about hockey, because hockey is not my greatest strength, but I do watch, I do follow, I do read, I keep up with the content. I know a lot of the players in the game of hockey. So I am, I guess you could say, a casual fan because I focus more on hockey during the playoffs. But hey, I still do my best to talk about it. And I just wanted to talk about it with Lennon tonight. And Lennon, I want to thank you again for being my guest on the show tonight. It was a pleasure to have you. Before we go out, we got 2 minutes still. Before we go out, where can the viewers out there find you?
Well, I do currently have a writing page up on Facebook, but you can always find me on Instagram. My username is LennonCrisp12. And honestly, I'm either usually on Instagram or I do dabble a little bit in Twitter just to promote articles and stuff like that. But yeah, mainly just Facebook and Instagram.
Okay. Hey, thanks again, man. Great stuff.
Thank you for
having me. To all our viewers out there, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Without you guys, none of this is possible. You guys are awesome for taking the time out of your night to hang out with us. I really thank you guys. Till next Thursday, I'll see you guys in another episode of Speaking with Judgment next Thursday, same network, same time. See ya.
All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365 5, we making a plays. We talking the game, get you to the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. Hitting the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sport.